Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really potent source. It's a YouTube analysis that pulls apart the book of Revelation, and it's focused on the approach of the Day of Judgment. Our mission here is to just quickly pull out the core story it presents, this history of human instinct versus faith, and then, the final separation. This source frames our time. It's like a countdown, a world heading for destruction where judgment will, and this is a quote, come like a thief.
What's so fascinating is how efficiently the source just condenses it all down using only 3 chapters. You got Revelation 12, which sort of lays out the cause. Satan, desire, chaos in the world.
Okay.
Then chapter 13 gives you the mechanism. So Satan stimulating human instinct, which, often just looks like greed. And this creates people who reject God. And then, of course, chapter 14, the inevitable result, the judgment. There's a full narrative arc.
Okay. Let's unpack the reality for those who choose that other path, a path of faith. The source calls them the saints. And it's very clear. This path is not easy. You're going to face rough waves, persecution, temptation, deception, all because your values are just so different from the world.
And that's the key challenge, right? The source argues the daily battle is about making God's word the sole standard.
Yeah.
Because if you forget that, even for a second, you're immediately vulnerable. You can be just swept away by all the worldly desires.
Right, which leads to this huge point of tension for a lot of people listening. If faith is meant to make people holy, why does the church itself often seem so chaotic? I mean, the source uses strong words. It calls some members hypocrites and liars.
And this is where the parable of the wheat and weeds comes in from Matthew 13. It's the idea that God allowed the good wheat and the corrupt weeds to grow up together in the church until the final harvest.
Why?
Specifically so that the sincere believers wouldn't get accidentally uprooted if there was some kind of premature separation.
Wait, okay. But if God lets these self-serving people stay and mingle, doesn't that burden the genuine believers? How does the source deal with that?
Well, the source calls this coexistence the hiding place for the weeds. You can spot them by their behavior. They have the clothes of religion but no real faith. They might speak well,
sure,
but they find actual obedience, even in small things, to be a burden. They're just full of excuses when it comes to God's work, but have all the time in the world for themselves. They even sort of mock the quiet obedience of the true wheat.
And this connects perfectly to the danger of prosperity. The source actually singles out places like Korea and Australia. Why is prosperity such a danger here?
Because it's a distraction. It makes people want to create their own heaven on earth.
Oh.
And they lose that hope for the real heaven. So tribulation, persecution, financial problems, the source calls all that the threshing machine. It strips away all that material comfort and reveals who's really committed and who's just, playing the part.
That's a powerful image. And it sets up the final judgment scene. The Lord begins the final reaping, Revelation 14. And the imagery for the harvested weeds, it is truly stark. They're described as clusters of grapes.
Yes. And an angel throws these clusters into the great winepress of God's wrath. This isn't just punishment. It's ruthless. The source really emphasizes the scale from the text. The blood flows out, rising as high as a horse's bridle.
Wow.
For 1,600 stadia. That's about 320 kilometers. It symbolizes a judgment without any forgiveness, without any retreat.
So the overall structure is a very clear warning. Chapters 12 and 13 define the cause. Satan, instinct, greed. And chapter 14 reveals the irreversible result, the cup of wrath.
And the takeaway for you listening is really an urgent call for daily self-reflection. Are you focused on earthly things that will be burned and disappear, or are you trying to live a life of light and salt?
And here's the final provocative thought to leave you with, and it comes right from the source's warning. A person who was once wheat can become a weed at any moment if they aren't thoroughly armed with the word. The battle never stops. So what does it look like for you to thoroughly arm yourself every hour and every minute?